So, sometimes when you tell people that you really like queer media, they tend to think that you mean Western media, which is totally fine. I understand where they're coming from with that, and I understand why they might think that. But when I think of queer media, it is almost absolutely never from the West. And that's for a discussion of a different day. But when I think of my origins in queer media, it started at an age that was probably a little bit too young with the wonderful anime called Haikyuu. Now, Haikyuu is not actually a BL in any sense of the word, but like any sports anime, it tends to be queer coded. And so I created an account on this wonderful little website that we like to call AO3, typed in my little name, which was Pierce the AJ at that time. You can shackle me, I agree. I can go to jail for that, okay? And from there, ended up making fan fictions of my own. That account no longer exists. If you try to look it up, it no longer exists. So try at it as you will, babe. But what I ended up doing with that was making tons and tons of fan fiction. And one day, someone said, this sounds like the anime Cherry Magic. And the heavens opened for me. Now, I am a huge BL fan, as you can tell by this content and the whole purpose of this page, but in particular, JBL is where I get my jam. I love JBL for a ton of different reasons. I love the ability to talk about authentic topics. I love the focus on adult romances in particular. I really love the way that there's very candid speaking. And I also really love Japanese humor. As someone who speaks Japanese on a conversational level, it's really nice to be able to understand it in a comparison to other languages, because although I love Thai BL and I love KBL and I love some CBLs, I am not as good at catching all of the social cues that can come with that kind of work. So what I ended up doing today was sitting down and making a list of all of the JBL and a couple of the animes that are particularly large in the JBL space to talk about my personal feelings with them. Now, that does leave a little bit of caveats, so let's talk about where that lays. Now, let's remind ourselves, I am not an expert in cinema. My degree is not in film. It's not even in communications, babe. So when we're talking about this, I really need you to come in with the understanding that I am just a girl. Kind of, right? So I really need you to understand that although I might hate something and you love something, I promise it's not on any way associated with how good that show is. It's a personal opinion. It has nothing to do with the actors. It has nothing to do with the show itself. I will probably tell you why I don't even like it in the first place. So as long as we can be on agreement with that, I'm chill. Second of all, I do not have every JBL in the world on here. I only have the ones I've watched. Is it a lot of them? Yes. Is it all of them? No. So if I've missed your favorite, I'm so sorry. Please let me know in the comments and I'm more than happy to go watch it. I love a good binge. Or I might have just possibly forgotten to put it on here and I did a good QA check, but it happens. Hi, Editor Amanda here. And as you can guess, whenever you hear that someone is editing in post and they have to make a whole separate video, this is not a good thing. Two things. Number one, I was really about to get sick right after this video. That's why this video took so long. When you see my face and it looks really puffy and my neck looks puffy, if you make a comment about it, I will cry. I'm just saying. Also, in my about to be sick, delirious state, I forgot to mention what the actual categories of the tier list are, and I forgot to record my entire screen. So, to give you some background, we have 7 categories, and they go from top to bottom. Absolute cinema, as you can guess. We are truly living in the gayest timeline. It may be a red flag, but I am in fact blind. Protect queer art, circa RuPaul. Not the best, but still good, because Duong with you will not leave my head. Well, you did that, girl. It's there. And then jail, straight to jail. And I'm sorry, I don't want to sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. Sorry to this man. Because sometimes It's been goddamn years since I've watched these shits. I don't remember them anymore. Now, be nice to past Amanda. She's trying her hardest. So is current Amanda. And I'll see you later. Starting off with the TikTok sensation of last year is Ten Dance. I remember seeing the ads for Ten Dance, and when I saw it, I thought that it was going to be a little bit raunchier than it was. From what I understand, that's not a solitary experience. I saw a lot of people have a lot of conflicting feelings about Ten Dance in particular, but I thought it was a really good rendition. I think that the acting and the way that they handled the dancing and the effort that they put into understand dancing is absolutely wonderful. But do I think that it was the best? No. Also, I'm so sick of seeing one kiss and calling it a day. Those motherfuckers would have been fucking every single day, multiple times a day, to get that sick of each other in a week. I said what I said. So, when it comes to Ten Dance, I believe it is protecting queer art. Next up is at 2500 in Akasaka. I think that this one in particular gave me really good feelings until I read the manga. I think the manga was so developed that when I watched it, it felt like it was great acting. It just wasn't the same. It's not that it was bad. I just wish that it was a little bit more realistic in its portrayals. And then the second season in particular, damn, I really, really liked the second season. I thought it was a very realistic portrayal of how it feels to be in a relationship while things are going on with conflict, as JBLs tend to do best. And so, but I'm rating them as one piece for my own sanity. So it is going in protect queer art. Next we have Cherry Magic the anime. Personally, this was my first version of Cherry Magic that I got to see on screen. I think that's the same for many others. And when I saw it, it was hard not to fall in love. I think there are very few things that make me feel as giddy as Cherry Magic and how it handles just the awkwardness of what is stereotypically JBL humor or Japanese humor in general. It's hard to take away the bias of childhood with this one. So I have to say that this is truly living in the gayest timeline. I did get my brain rewired when watching it. Then from there is Cherry Magic the live action. Cherry Magic the live action was so incredibly mind-bending for me at 20 years old. And that's super embarrassing to state. But I think it was the first time that I saw JBL humor in a way that was so over the top that I got enamored by its action. I think it's a really, really cute description of what live action can be. But I think I, like many others, are frustrated not only with the fact that it didn't have a ton of spice and it had no kiss. And that will haunt that show as I talk about this. So I am saying that it may be a red flag because it is it's a little bit queer coded, not queer. But I'm in fact blind. I will watch it 1,000,002 times. Cousin Flea Lover is what I think of as a BL that is really going towards the female gaze. That sounds a little bit weird in the way that I state it, but I think that some of these shows are made for the queer eye and some of these are made for the Fujo eye. And as a queer person, it's weird to see the in-between. But I think that it's a great series. I think the acting in it's great. I think the wording in it's great. But I do have to say, I think it is truly just living in the gayest timeline. Next up on the docket is Countdown to Yes. Countdown to Yes is probably one of my top BLs of the last 6 months. I loved that manga when it came out. I was so enamored by it. And so when I got to see it in a much more realistic format, oh my God, it was good. Were there a couple of changes in the adaptation? Yes. Does that make sense for both the timeline and the actual just situation of acting? Yes. And so personally, I think that it was a really, really good watch and something that I would deeply suggest to anyone who's interested. With that, I would say Countdown to Yes goes into absolute cinema. Next up is Dangerous Strokes of Sex. I'm gonna be real with you. We all watched this when it came out because it was so goddamn fucking crazy that it was a train wreck. I saw the train in front of me. I could not stop the wreck. I was not changing the handlebar. I did in fact watch it. Did I get maybe 15 minutes into it and then physically nope out the first time? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Can you blame me? No. And if you are under the age of 18, do not be me. Do not look it up. Thank you. Okay. With that, it's going straight to jail. Then we have Eternal Yesterday. Eternal Yesterday, I think is so similar to a lot of those like hetero romance animes that came out in like 2017, 2018. Oh God, when did Your Lie in April come out? 2016? Don't fact me, I check on that. I will fact check myself right here. Don't fact check me. I got it. Ones that are just made to lead to pain and suffering. Also Orange. Like, just made to make you sob. And for good reason. It's a really good series, but like, hot damn, can I have a single moment of happiness? I know exactly what's going to happen the entire time. I see everything happening as it's happening. No. No, 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 no. And then you hit it and you go, they hit the Pentagon, they hit the fucking Pentagon. If the Pentagon was an umbrella hitting the ground. With that though, I think there's better. Don't hate me. I think there's better. So I would say we are truly living in the gayest timeline with this one. Next up is I Hear the Sunspot. I have to be so real with you. I think that BLs that touch a disability trope in a way that is actually sensible and makes sense for someone who may experience a disability are always going to be a little bit higher up on my list in comparison to others. I know that this show has a lot of complaints when it comes to its speed comparatively to the manga, but I think it's a really good rendition. I love the acting in it. I love the tension, especially the first time when he has to get his hearing aids readjusted. I'm so sorry if I'm spoiling it. Actually, no, I'm not. This is going to only have spoilers in it. Oops. But like, I think Here the Sunspot hits a very specific area similar to like TBL's Last Twilight of just not only educating an audience on disability a little bit, but also teaching the genuine interactions that come when you treat a disability just like an everyday thing rather than a huge building block that builds a personality around a person. Does it impact a person? Totally. Does it have to be the only thing in their life? No. And I think that's super important to note. So when I look at Hear the Sunspot, for me, it is absolute cinema. It's something I have watched time and time again, and I will watch time and time again still. Next up is If It's With You. This is one that I don't hear people talking about enough, but I see enough edits online, so I feel like people really do like it, even if they're not saying anything. If It's With You, I think it has a lot of the tropes that we see in a lot of those like made for adult audience with a high school focus BLs. Obviously, like there's the discussion of him being in romantic relationships with men who are older than him prior to moving into the new area. He kind of Fresh Prince of Bel-Airs it into this very loving, caring, consensual relationship. And as we look at how that functions, I think that this one is one that made me feel a lot of things, but I barely ever remember it when I want to talk about BLs that I like. Is it good? Totally. Is it one of my favorites? No. So I'm going to put it in Protect Queer Art. Because that's what we need to do. Next is Love Begins in the World of If. Love Begins in the World of If, I think, is... If I had rated this when I first watched it, it would have been absolute cinema. I thought that this was such a good concept of the idea of multiple universes and time travel. But as the years have gone by, I've seen others that have kind of skewed my perspective. It's not that I don't think that it's good. It's just that I think that there are things that can be better. And so I am putting it in not the best, but still good. Next is Love in the Air, the Japanese version. This is the first time that we got to see those two CPs, and I have to be so transparent. I love Shoma. I think he's a great actor. I think that everyone makes 1,000,002 edits of him. I think he's a little tiny bean. I think he's younger than me, so maybe that's why I feel that way. But I love the acting in this one. I think that it gives a lot of nuance to compete with the chemistry of someone like Fort Pete and Boss Knoll. And you're having really big shoes to fill. but I think it did a good job for what it was. Is it super advanced or strength in any area? No. But I don't think it was necessarily asking for that. So when it comes to that, I would give Love in the Air a not the best, but still good. Next is Love is Better the Second Time Around. Love is Better the Second Time Around was one of those that I thought I would not like walking into it and ended up falling in love with. Do I think that it's healthy? No. Do we get answers in the live action about what actually happened and why he decided to make those decisions in high school? Also, no. Why the fuck was that bet made in the first place? Why did he hear it? None of that is answered throughout this series, which annoys the shit out of me. But the chemistry is great. I think that he is just overwhelmingly a red flag, and he's very lucky. They're both red flags, really. And they're both very lucky that they have each other to be toxic with. I said what I said. So, I am putting it in, it may be a red flag, but I am in fact blind. Then is My Beautiful Man. I have a hot take for you. I don't like My Beautiful Man. I don't like it. I think the acting's good. I think it's really fucking creepy. I will never step away from the AK-47 scene. And I understand and I love the idea of unreliable narrators. And I think it's a great description of an unreliable narrator. But I just never could get into it. I think Eternal's slightly better than the My Beautiful Man. And I know this is a hot take. And if you have a reason that I should go rewatch it, oh my God, let me know. Because I have been begging to try to understand it because I know people love it. But personally, no. No. So I'm going to put My Beautiful Man in, well, you did that, girl. Because you did. And I will put Eternal in front of it. Thank you. Now, my love mix-up. I know that people don't love this one as much as I do. I love having a character that's like the perfect man, like the bland perfect man. I know that's not for everyone, but I enjoy when that is played with someone who is very over the top with Japanese humor. That's when we get those like third screen moments, right? And I think those are really, really nice to have. Do I think it's for everyone? No. Do I think that I am a little bit biased in my love for it? Yeah, but I would suggest it to almost anyone, so that's where I come with it. I give My Love Mix-Up absolute cinema. It's hard not to love. It's hard not to laugh at. It's something that I think you can even give to people who aren't big into romance, and they'll enjoy. So, My Love Mix-Up gets absolute cinema from me. Next up is My Personal Weatherman. My Personal Weatherman is one of my top 5 BLs of all time. It is going at the top of absolute cinema. I know I'm going to have to debate this one. This is a hear me out. A hear me out cake in, okay? So, My Personal Weatherman is what you get when you take an unreliable narrator and you actually fulfill that throughout the entire series with someone who is very obviously neurodivergent. I think that sometimes people treat it as a toxic BL, and I understand, especially if you're not neurodivergent, why you would believe that as a first out the door. But personally, I see it as a really vulnerable depiction of what it can look like when communication just isn't there. That happens a lot with neurodivergent people. And the story, they both do have attraction and love for each other, although they're both obsessive in ways. But I think that their communication styles make sense for someone who's neurodivergent. And his imagery of everything is horrible and everything is down is something that I can relate to. I've said this in a different video, but I saw this BL when I was in a really depressed place in my life and I had just started moving in with my partner. And I watched it and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed because I realized that I was Adachi and I was putting myself in a place where nothing could make me happy. And so when I see My Personal Weatherman, it's something I watch at least every other month. And I know this is getting really long, but it's a favorite of mine. And if you haven't seen it or you didn't watch it because you thought it was just spicy, don't get me wrong, the spice is great in it, the acting is great in it, the storyline is great. It's also just a really good diversion of neurodivergent people, and I would suggest it. Old-fashioned cupcake. I think I would actually get killed if I didn't put Old Fashioned Cupcake at least, and we are truly living in the gayest timeline. Old Fashioned Cupcake's one of those that is built to be loved. I think of Old Fashioned Cupcake as one of those that you watch and you sit and you fall in love with. I'm not even mad at the lack of continual intimacy in it. I think it makes sense for that series. I love when we have BLs that can talk about adults being adults. And you'll see that a little bit later on as well. But if I had to give it a suggestion, Old Fashioned Cupcake goes, and we are truly living in the gayest timeline, and I am so grateful it is here. Our youth. Our youth gets absolute cinema just off the bat because of its depiction. I do want to say, when it comes to our youth, there's a lot of discussion topic around the main top actor in that series and how his allegations and guilt plea in China, and he is now back in Japan. I personally do not have enough information behind me to give you an adequate statement on that, so I am going to rear away from that topic. This is not me saying that I'm rearing away from what he did. If he did do those things, they're absolutely disgusting. We should not support actors who are doing things to harm others. I just genuinely did not get into this information, and I don't feel equipped to give you any additional notes. Cool? Cool. Let's talk about the story in and of itself. Our Youth is one of those that I think really builds the idea of this may be the person, but it may not be the time. It's a classic, and it's loved by so many for the way that it gets handled in that love. Do I think that there are some things that I would change about it? Yes. It's not a perfect 10, but it's pretty damn close. It's like a 9.75. I give Our Youth a really high score, and I think I'm not alone in that one. Next is The Perfect Propose. The Perfect Propose is one that I saw I think while it was airing. And I had a really hard time on my first watch to really understand what I was feeling with it. The second time around, as we got to a little bit more of an understanding of the characters, I really enjoyed the acting. I think sometimes I forget that the second actor, the male top lead, is supposed to be a delinquent in a sense. Not really, but, seemingly like one. And I think his acting does fit that. I think that if I'm looking at the ones that are around it and its genre, it's a pretty good fit. And I love that scene where where the bottom is a little bit too drunk, and he gets pulled away saying that he's his, picks him up, takes him home. I think that's a really, really good one. So it will go in Protect Queer Art. Then is Living with Him. Living with Him is one of those that I honestly can't tell you all of the details of anymore. I watched it a while ago. I thought it was good for what it was, but it wasn't super great. I don't think it really had anything notable about it. The acting was fine. The sound engineering was fine. The imagery was fine. I love the trope of friends to lovers, but I don't think it was done especially well in this instance. I would say it really is more like, well, you did that, girl. And so that's where it's going. Punk's Triangle is what happens when you take Hannah Montana and you put it into a BL. And I'm obsessed with it. I don't think that Punk's Triangle is necessarily for everyone, but as someone who fell in love with the manga, it's a really good rendition and it's a really cute story. The humor in it is loud and brash and funny and relatable. And the feeling of taking off the bucket hat and the wig and having a whole new personality in front of you is something that I just find so endearing. I really love this series in particular. And is it the perfect series? No, but it's good enough for me. And so I'm putting it, probably controversially, in absolute cinema. Mr. Sahara and Toki-kun is one that I think doesn't get enough rap for what it is. I never see anyone really talking about it, but in the same way that I think Minato's Laundry allows a discussion of, hey, maybe we don't talk about this when you're a kid, this does not do the same. It gives me a little bit of stress when I think about it a little bit too much. And so, is it a bad show? No. Is it my favorite show? No. I think well, you did that, girl. But it's not completely to jail, if I remember the ages correctly. Who knows? Next up is school trip joined a group I'm not close to. God, tongue twister. I love school trip. I think everyone does. I think it's hard to hate this show. It has everything that you want from a school BL. It is genuinely my favorite school BL of all of the countries, I think. It's so, except for I Told Sunset About You, but that's not really a school BL. That's a whole other issue. I think it's so good at showing just the social interactions of high schoolers and how that is really one of the last times in your life you point at someone and you go, we're friends now, and you can do that successfully. Oh, what a dream as an adult. I love the interactions that they have. I love the intimacy that comes from the curtain scene. I love the special episodes. It makes me giddy when I think about it. It's just such a good watch that I think no one really hates it when I see discussions online. And if you do, I would love to hear why. But personally, it's going in absolute cinema. Mr. Unlucky Has No Choice But to Kiss is actually one of those that I think gets maybe discussed a little bit less in comparison to the ones of its trope, but it's really a hidden gem, in my opinion, when it comes to JBL. I think that sometimes when we look at, again, that character who can be the perfect man and kind of stoic, it can seem kind of boring, but I think the second half of that series in particular really brings around how he's interacting and how he understands the world around him. Obviously, our main character is a very eccentric JBL humor built character, very similar to his manga, and I really love the way that the acting is. I'll never forget that push-up scene. I think it's so incredibly funny. And so I think that this one is living in the gayest timeline, and I'm happy to see it there. Next up is Senpai, This Can't Be Love. And I gotta be so real with you, it's going into sorry to this man. Because if I remember the premise, and I remember him having the shrine in his apartment, and he's calling his mom, and we see the shrine. Those are the only two scenes I remember out of that entire show. And so I can't really tell you if it was good. I can't really tell you if it was bad. I just remember it existing. And so, sorry to this man. I need to go back and rewatch that. If I do before I post this, I'll put it in my comments. Next up is Stay By My Side After the Rain. Stay By My Side After the Rain is one of those that I think has a really hard time really bringing in that full audience of either the adult topic or the coming of age stories. People really tend to divide between the two of those, and I don't think it does either one particularly strongly, which is probably why it just hasn't gained as much of an audience. I think it's a good premise. I think the acting is good in it, and I think that it really does exhibit a very calm nature to this type of series. But when I think of ones that match its trope, I can think of at least 4 or 5 that I like more than it. So I'm going to put it in, well, you did that, girl. It's not horrible. It's not perfect. It's just kind of there. Super Lovers is going to jail. If you want to fight me on that, you're just weird. And I said what I said. And I meant it. We're talking about the numbers, babe. And that age difference is like, what, 12 years, 14 years? Something fucking ridiculous. No. At least, like, we'll talk about Jujutsu later. But at least that one isn't half as bad, okay? At least they're not brothers. Jail. Thank you. Cool. Next is A Man Who Defies the World of BL. And this one is again going in, sorry to this man, because there's so many seasons of it that at this point, I think I've seen all of it. I can't tell you anything about it. I've really loved the cameos. I've loved when we've gotten cameos from actors of other series. That's been really nice to see. And I think it has a lot of spice outside of the main character, obviously. But I can't find him interesting. I think it's just, the first season was a really good look at the trope. After that, it has just felt like fan service, but in a weird backwards way. I don't know how to describe that, but Personally, that is going into sorry to this man. Next, we have The Boy Next World Japan. The Boy Next World Japan definitely has its soft spots and parts where I had some issues. I think that it was not a bad rendition, and I think if the Bosnol version didn't exist, I probably wouldn't be that upset with it. But knowing what I know, it's not my favorite. I think it was a little bit rushed. I think the storyline with the mother was a little bit weird in this one. And although the chemistry was out of this world, everything else kind of banked on the fact that the chemistry was going to be out of this world, if that makes sense. So I think it gets not the best, but still good. If the other one didn't exist, it would probably be higher. Next is I Became the Main Role of a BL. I think this one is so good, and I see a lot of people disagree with me on this online, and I understand absolutely why you may disagree with me, but to watch this for the first time and realize that he is obsessed with him, to be back in this place. I loved that. It's a very short JBL. I think each season has 3 episodes. They're not very long. It's not a super long watch. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Gaga, and it's probably on somewhere else. Yo-ho, yo-ho. Go take a time and watch it. I think it's a really, really good series. So with that, I am going to put it in the gayest timeline. Okay, next up is Therapy Game. Therapy Game is one of those that I really loved the manga for. And when I watched the actual JBL, I thought that if I hadn't read the manga, I would really like this adaptation. I think it's a great series. I don't think it's a great adaptation, if that makes sense. So when I look at the two of them, I think it's a really, really, really good series. I think that the acting's great. I think the wig is wiggin'. The wig is wiggin', to put it lightly. But I don't think that's bad in any way. I really liked the way that they handled the last few episodes. I think that could get a little bit dicey when you read the manga. And so not super bad, not super great. I'm going to put it in not the best, but still good. Next is Takara-kun and Amagi-kun. Takara-kun and Amagi-kun got me feeling things that I wish I was not feeling. I think it's a really great description of high school love and how that can be kind of toxic without meaning to be. The obsession with it is a little bit funny, and I talk about this in another thing I did recently, but it's not that the acting isn't good, it's not that the sound engineering's not good, it's not that the placement's not good, it's not that the scenes aren't beautiful, it's that the shit that's coming out of their mouths is like 2018 Tumblr. And that makes sense. It's a manga. They didn't change anything about it. They use the exact phrasings, which made me giggle. But at the same time, a little interesting, babes. A little bit of a choice. So when I look at it, I would say that Takara-kun and Amagi-kun is beautiful. It's great work. I think it's living in the gayest timeline. Just not absolutely perfect for me. Next up is Tokyo in April. Tokyo in April, I think, is the first one that made me actually sit down and think about what I look for in a JBL. I think that it's a really, really good rendition of the idea of like forced secrets and amnesia. I think that the actual reason is stupid as fuck, but I think anyone would think it was stupid as fuck because, oh my God, why are those parents acting like he said, I think it's a good series, though. I do think it's toxic as fuck because of that. So I am putting it in. It may be a red flag, but I am in fact blind. And I will watch it time and again, and I do really like it. Talking about red flags. When It Rains, It Pours is one of my favorites. And I should be putting it in It's a Red Flag, but I will not be. Here's why. I am an absolute hater of cheater arcs, okay? I think that they're absolutely horrible in almost every case. I think this one in particular does a really good job of not only describing what it can be like to have a relationship within an unfulfilling life and seeing something elsewhere, but also how hard it is to leave a relationship in which you feel comfortable. I think this series is so good at exhibiting that emotion. I think it's really, really well done. I think it's so beautiful. And the museum scenes pick at my tiny little heart. And so I will probably rewatch this after editing this. And When It Rains, It Pours is absolute cinema to me. Next up is Love is a Poison. Love is a Poison is what you get when you take a con man and a lawyer and you put it into one simple series. I think Love is a Poison is one that's extremely underrated for how it interacts. I love the insta-love and I love the talking succulents. I think they're such a cute addition to the story. I think that this one is underrated. It's really easily accessible. It's on Netflix in most Western countries, but I never see anyone talking about it, which makes me so bummed. I love the way that it exhibits both a very stoic, perfect man and someone who can have a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, and be very teasy in them. Also, for once, when we get to a lawyer or criminal dynamic, it's not pushed aside. Is it the focus? Like sometimes it can be, especially if you're in a police crime. No, but it's definitely there. You get the full storyline and it makes sense. Something that's really hard to do at times when it comes to JBLs with how short their timeline is. Usually you have to choose between romance or content, and I think it does a really good job of melding the two. I love Love is a Poison. If you haven't seen it, I would deeply suggest it, and it goes for me in absolute cinema. I Cannot Reach You, I think, is one of those that people look at when they see Friends to Lovers and they point at it and they go, this is the solution. And I completely understand why that might be the case. Do I think it's a perfect solution to this? No, but I think it's hard to say anything bad about I Cannot Reach You, except for the fact that I think there's just been better versions. I love the way that it interacts with itself. I love the deepness of the storytelling. I love the vulnerability of both characters, and I think the acting is great. But if I'm looking at it, it is probably going in We Are Living in the Gayest Timeline. It just isn't absolute cinema to me, just that little bit. In comparison, one that I know I need to take hits for, okay? Guilty. Guilty as Charged is the proper way to write a love story. Is a revenge plot romance that goes, honestly, every single way I want it to. The heat between them, the hairstylist and the construction worker, neither of them are working big corporate jobs. And the support that you can get from a partner, even when you're feeling the guilt of the fact that you're trying to really lead a revenge plot, is so well exhibited here. It's one of those that I found just going on Gaga. I had never heard about it before I saw it. I watched it in one day, fell in love, never looked back since. So for me, I would suggest it as absolute cinema. And I know that might be a hot take. So sorry. Next is Life in Smoky Blue, or Smoky Blue no Ame no Chihare. It is currently airing on Gaga. I'm obsessed with this show. I've been obsessed with the manga since it came out in 2020. And I've read all of the volumes page to page. I think having discussions of not only grief, but understanding burnout and the adult anguish that can come with realizing that this path that you've been on for so long may not be your desired path or the path that you should be on is such an important discussion. I ugly sobbed at this when I realized I was doing something I didn't love personally and I wanted to change career paths. I love the way that it acts. I love their acting. It is the same actor from Old Fashioned Cupcake. And so people see that and they usually are like, oh, he's a great actor in it. And I love the series so far. It comes out on Tuesdays. So there's 5 episodes out. And if you haven't seen them, you should go watch it. 10 out of 10, absolute cinema. I'm so excited to see how this one ends. So The Journey to Killing You is genuinely one of my top BLs of last year, and I am so ecstatic that it's getting a second season. I actually am not a huge Yakuza person. I've never really been big into Yakuza, like media in any way, but when I watched this one in particular, it just hit something that I didn't think any series would, which was the drama of that with the reality of someone who probably lives that lifestyle and how blunt and honest they would be. Something that we don't tend to see. We tend to see a very brash, loud personality, but the quiet seriousness of our characters is something so good. Also, the panic attacks that are exhibited and shown in that are so well depicted, especially for JBLs, which tend to edge away from the idea of mental health a little bit more. So, personally, I know there's so many in Absolute Cinema. I'm so sorry. JBLs are my favorite, but I would put The Journey to Killing You in Absolute Cinema again. Then we have Tucker's Treasure. Tucker's Treasure, I saw the series before I watched the series before I read the manga, and that was a goddamn mistake. I think that if you read the manga, the first episode is a lot more palatable. Let me tell you, I had to push my way through that first episode, praying it would get better, because I was like, I've seen so many people love this one. I've seen so many people love it. Why do I hate it so much? And it's because the first episode's so cringe. It's so cringe. You're going to tell me that he's going to be asking him to recite the alphabet? Do you not remember a single thing this man said to you in your 15-minute life-changing experience that made you come to this university? Oh, it kills me. I don't know. That first episode's a lot. After that, I love it. I think it's a really, really good show. But you have to push and push and push your way through that first episode. And for that, I have to say it's not the best, but still good. Everything else outside of that is good. But that exact moment, I'm alive, but I'm dead. I'm alive, but I'm dead. I'm mostly dead, though, with that, okay? But if you were like me and you also had to stop at first episode, it gets better, babes. Believe me. Believe me, I'm telling you the truth, okay? Next is Unexpectedly Naughty Fukami-kun. I know, code switch, so sorry. This one in particular is also currently airing. It comes out on Mondays. It's a 13-minute series, so it sucks because I want more information than I'm currently getting, but it's not a bad series. The anime for Unexpectedly Naughty Fukami-kun is just leaps and bounds above when it comes to the spice, which is what the series was based off of. It is definitely a spice-heavy manga, and so in comparison, it's a little bit boring, I'm not gonna lie to you. But it's not that I don't like it, it's just a little bit different. So if I'm going to give it a suggestion, it's probably going to be Protect Queer Art. We need more JBLs that are heavy in spice, and we need them to do well so we can see some series that are really, really good but have some heftier spice in them be produced. So Protect it. It's good. I want to see more of it, but I wish the episodes were just a little bit longer. I think I would give it a much higher score if so. Then it's Our Dining Table. Our dining table is one of those that you just kind of sit at and you go, you know, I love it. Every single time I watch it, I then want to make an onigiri that is a grenade-sized sheet of nori just on the outside. It looks so good in concept, but in actuality, how the fuck would you do that? I don't know how they even hold it. Thank God for saran wrap. But I think that series is so good. I think the zoo moment, that's the one that I always think of as the moment that made me really feel invested during the rainy day. He's feeling sick. They open up the door and the stuffy zoo is there, which stays there for multiple episodes and throughout the series. It's so, so good. I am also happy that they do discuss the fact they are the same age. If I remember correctly, that comes a little bit later in the manga, but I might be wrong. It's been a really long time since I read that manga. But I really, really love Our Dining Table. I think it's a really, really sweet read. I think it's a really sweet watch. I think it's one of those that you can just relax with. And so I think we are lucky we're living in the gayest timeline for that to occur. Next is One Room Angel. One Room Angel came out so long ago that I sadly do not remember it. I don't remember it being bad by any means. I just don't remember it being good. There's nothing really in particular that sparks an interest in me with it. And so when I think of it, it's okay, I'm sure, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time listening to it nor watching it nor really doing a ton with it. So it goes and sorry to this man. Then Minato's Laundromat. I think Minato's Laundromat is the only one with an age gap where someone is underage where you see an active fight against the underage person. And I appreciate that for what it is. That's the only reason why it's not going to jail. I think that it's a very good series at being able to describe that mundaneness of everyday life and the childhood feeling of your first crush, even if it goes a little bit differently than I would like it to, for that to be, I think it should, we all know. Yeah. But I read the manga far, far before I actually saw the series. And so I think it's a pretty good rendition of the series in and of itself. I'm going to give it to Protect Queer Art. Sometimes we do have to let the creeps win. I think it's a pretty okay one if we're going to give it to them. Next is Contrast. I have to put this in Sorry to This Man, but it's for a reason. Hear me out. I just got Contrast the manga. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start doing a comparison of episode to chapter. So I have not seen it yet on purpose. I got Contrast literally this weekend. So in the next couple of weeks, this could change significantly. But I am going to watch an episode, read the equivalent chapters, and then I will do an episode on each one of those. And then I'll do a full length video once I finished up. But if you want to follow that progress, you'll see it on shorts. Cool? Cool. Now, I put Candy and Kiss in here for two reasons. One, because I know Ball. I watched this when it came out, and I think that was 2016, maybe 2015. And I probably shouldn't have been watching it at that age. But I also really like that trope, which I think is also exhibited in Cherry Magic, which is gaining self-confidence from someone who has fully believed themselves to be ugly and outside of the dating pool for the rest of their life, seeing a natural crush come to them, and the experiences that could happen when you realize that you can be desired as someone who might not have a traditionally expressive, beautiful, conventionally attractive face. So with that, I'm going to put that one in Protect Queer Art. It's not the best per se, but it brings a lot of nostalgia to me, which is why it goes there. Then we have Fake Fat Lips, which if you're not watching, you should be. I love Fake Fat Lips so far. It's a manga that I'm obsessed with. I remember reading it chapter by chapter and screaming when it was coming out. It is so, so good. It's been so realistic so far. We're on episode 2, so I can't give it a ton. So I cannot put it in a GOAT level, but I can put it in We're Living in the Gayest Timeline. I'm so pleased about it, and I hope you would be too. Next up is one that I saw a lot of people talking about it coming out, but I didn't see a ton of people talking about it after it came out, which is Your Divorce is Served. That is between, it is people who are partners and professionals and partners in life. There's a lawyer and a cop, and they do things a little bit differently with trying to serve divorces, and then at home, their personal lives. It's a really comedic way to look at that series. I think it's very funny. I think it's very cute. Do I think it's the best of that kind of genre? No, but I think it's a good series in general. So with that, I'm going to put it into Protect Queer Art. It's good. It's not the best, but it's also something that should be seen more and discussed more. And I want to protect it just a little bit. Now, I don't know if you don't know if this came out because I didn't see anyone talking about this. I found out that it was coming out after like mid-March, and it came out in like early February, I believe. Love Punch, which is a manga that I read as it came out forever ago, got its own short series. And it was really good. I think if you're looking for really, really heavy spice in the way that the manga is, you're not going to find it there. But I think the acting's great. I think the fighting scenes are really good. And I have to say, when I watch a lot of JBLs, I'll think that the fighting scenes are like a little off-putting, and I just kind of like ignore it a little bit in favor of the rest of the story. I think it did a really good job here at the fighting scenes. It's what I hope Lovers and Gangsters will be at GMM. And so with that, I really love Love Punch. I thought it was really good. It might be a red flag across the board with the amount of fighting, but I'm here for it. So it'll go in. It may be a red flag, but I am in fact blind. Then Given the live action is just one that I don't see people talk about a ton, so I thought I would put it in the ring. I think that it actually was a really good rendition of how to adapt something that became so cult classic so fast. Everyone agrees that Given the anime is just by far one of the best BL animes of all time. I don't think anyone's really going to fight you on that when you say it. And so when you do the live action, you have a lot of chops to hang up to. I think it did a really good job of not trying to exactly replicate, but make it realistic and be a good adaptation of what was already there. I think that the music was great in it. I wish that it was I wish I could believe more that everything was done live, because it totally was not, and you could tell immediately, but it's not bad by any means. I think that it goes in, not the best, but still good. It deserves its spot. It's a really good adaptation, but if you compare it to the anime itself, it pales in comparison, and so I can't put it that close in line. Given the anime is going in absolute cinema, I don't think anyone's really going to fight me on that, but just in case, given it, I think genuinely brought in so many people into the idea of what queer media can be. It is so good at relaying the feelings of both disenfranchised grief with a partner that people didn't really know where it was your partner, and the feeling of new love and having to accept the high school emotions that come with love while handling a very adult topic of the feelings of loss. Is it the perfect show ever? No, but it does a lot to bring in a new audience to the idea of queer media and how you can have queer media that isn't just silly and goofy. It can be real, it can hit hard topics, it can be impactful. And so with that, it has to go in absolute cinema for me. Now we're going totally opposite side of the spectrum. Ginger Romantica. Ginger Romantica is what you get when you're a preteen and you're looking for gay shit online, me, and you find Ginger Romantica and you see the yaoi big arm. I'm gonna do it to you right now because of forced perspective. Big arm coming your way for a very tiny head. It's absolutely adorable. Is it the best show? No. Do I think that sometimes it gets to a little bit creepy? Yes. Will nostalgia play a fact in this for me? Yes. It is a red flag, and I am in fact blind. I do rewatch it a little bit too much for my age and dislike of SA tropes. But, damn, it's a good one. And then finally, the last one, because the rest of these are duplicates, sorry, is the summer that Hikaru died. The summer Hikaru died. I keep on adding in that article into that sentence. The summer Hikaru died, I think, is one of the best descriptions of disenfranchised grief and of both youth and of your first queer puppy love and how that can be played out. It's important to recognize that I see the summer Hikaru died as a BL. It is not, to me, a bromance or just generalized queer media. It is a BL. They both have crushes on each other. It has romantic subtext. It is a BL. That I know people fight me on, but I think it's important to remember that we need to state that these shows are BLs, because when we start to call them something like queer media, we are degrading what BL can look like. It's an impactful, emotionally dense, great horror series where we should be pushing more towards the idea of what it can fit. I think that Tokyo Ghoul walked so that this could run, but that's a discussion for a different day. If I'm looking at The Summer Hikaru Died, I think it's a pretty good 10 out of 10. It's up for Anime of the Year, and I would love to see what happens to it. So I'm hoping for a second season. We'll see some more, but it's going in absolute cinema. Now, that was a lot of talking, and I need to remind you that although these are my opinions, these opinions change all the time. If you have a reason why you think one of these should be higher or lower, please debate me in the comments. I love having a good debate. I love having a good yap, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are on it. I'm thinking about doing this for GMM and Domundi as two separate, maybe Domundi and exterior Thai BL as a separate tier list. I would love to hear what you think on that. But what I love most about JBL is the ability to see so many emotions be depicted in everyday life. It's so hard to see with all of this horrible, heinous stuff going on in the world that queer media can bring you a little bit of happiness to your day. And for me, it really brings me to a place where I feel in love. Do I think it's for everyone? No, but I think JBL definitely fits my heart. And if you can get used to the humor, if you're not already used to it, I think you'll fall in love with it too. So I would love to hear what you think. What do you think of these JBLs? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you think they're meh? Where does that fit for you? Anyways, I hope your skin's clear. I hope that the rain does not fall too hard on your parade, and I will see you soon. Bye.